The beautiful poetic justice of it all is that she is taking the very technical weapons, the sheer mental resilience, and the tactical genius that Rafa gifted her, and she is weaponizing them to build her own empire. She is doing it completely on her own terms now. She doesn't need the Nadal name attached to her brand to validate her existence anymore. The training wheels are off, the mentor is gone, and the monster he created has been unleashed on the tour. I, for one, would be terrified to play her right now. There is nothing more dangerous than a prodigy who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Now, I am tossing the ball into your courtside classic fam, because my comment section is about to be a war zone and I am here for it. I want to know exactly where you stand on this. Do you think Rafael Nadal was justified in making a ruthless business move for the greater good of saving the struggling WTA Tour? Or do you agree with me that this is the ultimate unforgivable betrayal of an athlete's sacred trust? Does the $3 billion price tag excuse the fact that he didn't even have the decency to pick up the phone? And looking at Alex's future, what is your take on the Dubai situation? Should she stay fiercely loyal to the Philippines, embracing the struggle and the pride of her homeland? Or should she sign that UAE deal, secure her generational wealth, and guarantee that she will never, ever be tossed aside by a corporate mandate again? Drop your fiercest opinions in the comments below. I am reading every single one, and I want to hear your absolute heat on this topic. We are going to be debating this for weeks. If you found this breakdown insightful, if you love the raw truth and you are tired of the sanitized corporate sports media, do your girl Mira a massive favor. Smash that like button until it breaks. Subscribe to Courtside Classic right now and ring that notification bell so you are the first to know when we drop the real story behind the headlines. We are going to be tracking Eala's every single move as she navigates this treacherous new world without her mentor, and you are not going to want to miss a second of her revenge tour. I'm Mira, thanking you for hanging out with me, and this has been your courtside seat to the biggest, messiest drama in tennis history. Stay strong, keep swinging, and I will see you in the next one. Stop whatever you are doing right now, grab a snack, and pull up a chair because the tennis world has just been hit by a seismic shockwave that nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, saw coming. Welcome back to Courtside Classic, the only place where we serve you the raw, unfiltered truth behind the baseline. It's your girl Mira, and today we are unpacking a story so dripping with corporate greed, shattered loyalties, and cold-blooded betrayal that it feels more like an episode of a high-stakes HBO drama than real life. We are talking about the complete and utter demolition of one of the purest, most celebrated relationships in modern sports. The legendary, supposedly unbreakable mentorship between the King of Clay, Rafael Nadal, and his hand-picked successor, the pride of the Philippines, Eala. For 3 solid years, the tennis media shoved this fairy tale down our throats. We were told this was the ultimate passing of the torch. It was framed as a sanctuary of pure athletic pursuit. But the truth? The truth is that sanctuary just got bulldozed by a $3 billion corporate wrecking ball, and the emotional casualties are staggering. Before we get into the ugly, undeniable facts of how this all fell apart, we have to travel back and look at what this relationship was actually built on, because that is the only way you are going to understand why my blood is absolutely boiling right now. Imagine being Eala. You are a teenager, you pack up your entire life, your dreams, your family's hopes, and you move across the world to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. At the time, she wasn't a household name. She was ranked somewhere outside the top 500, essentially just another talented kid in a sea of talented kids desperately trying to get noticed. In the brutal world of professional tennis, players like that are called prospects, which is just polite corporate speak for expendable unless proven otherwise. But then the unthinkable happens. The man himself, Rafael Nadal, walks past her court, and he doesn't just do the standard celebrity wave and keep walking. He doesn't just pose for a quick PR photo to slap on the Academy's brochure. He stops, he watches, he actually sees her. From everything we've been told, Rafa started giving her notes. He analyzed her footwork, he tweaked the mechanics of her forehand, but more importantly, he tapped into her psychology. In my honest opinion, Looking back at all the footage and the interviews, Rafa looked at this young Filipina powerhouse and saw a mirror image of his own teenage self. He saw that same furious, undeniable irritation every time she missed a shot. He saw that borderline obsessive refusal to let a single point die without a fight. And let me tell you, when a 22-time Grand Slam champion looks you dead in the eyes and tells you that you belong in the upper echelon of the sport, it literally rewires your DNA. It changes the chemistry of your brain. Alex didn't just listen to Rafa, she restructured her entire existence around his philosophy. She didn't just try to copy that famous looping top spin, she internalized his fighting spirit, his soul, his sheer will to suffer for the win. And the crazy thing is, it was working beautifully. She started skyrocketing up the rankings, clawing her way toward the top 100. The media dubbed her Nadal's unofficial protégé, and they were inseparable. It was the mentor-mentee bond of the century. We all bought into it. We thought it was immune to the toxic business side of the sport. We were so wrong. Because while Alex was grinding away on the practice courts, bleeding for the sport and honoring her mentor's teachings, the Women's Tennis Association was quietly panicking behind closed boardroom doors. Let's be incredibly real for a second, courtside classic fam. The WTA has been bleeding out. Viewership has been tanking, legacy sponsors have been quietly backing away, and they have been losing the war for Gen Z's attention to literally everything else on the internet. The executives knew they needed a miracle. They needed a savior. So they drew up the ultimate Hail Mary play, a deal so astronomically massive, it defies logic. They walked up to Rafael Nadal and offered him $3 billion over 10 years to basically become the supreme overlord and savior of women's tennis. We are not just talking about a cushy ambassador role here, guys. We are talking about massive equity stakes, unprecedented control over broadcasting rights, and total, unadulterated creative authority over the future of the tour. It is the kind of money and power that makes people forget who they are. But, as with every deal made with the devil, there was a catch. And this is where the story turns from a business transaction into an absolute Shakespearean tragedy. It was a cold, clinical, merciless legal catch hidden deep within the mountain of paperwork. The contract mandated strict conflict of interest clauses. The logic was that if Rafa is going to be the impartial kingpin of the entire WTA, he cannot be seen playing favorites. He cannot have personal, financial, or emotional stakes in any individual player's success. Translated into plain English, he had to cut the cord. He had to drop his protégé. He had to abandon Eala. Now, listen to me carefully, because this is the exact moment where my heart shatters for this young woman, and where I lose a massive amount of respect for a man I once considered a sporting god. It is one thing to have to make a tough business decision. We are all adults. We know sports is a business. But it is entirely another thing to handle it like a coward. Do you want to know how Eala, the girl who dedicated 3 years of her absolute prime, her sweat, her tears, and her blind loyalty to this man, found out she was being dumped? She found out on Twitter. Let that sink in. She was scrolling through her feed on a random Tuesday morning, probably resting between grueling practice sessions that he designed for her, and she sees a corporate press release. That is how she learned she was being offloaded to comply with a boardroom mandate. There was no late-night phone call. There was no sit-down over coffee. There was absolutely zero heads up. She wasn't even given the dignity of being a footnote in the $3 billion document that effectively detonated her professional world. If you ask me, that is unforgivable. Imagine giving your soul to a mentor, trusting them implicitly, and then realizing you were just a line item they crossed out to secure a bag. It makes me sick to my stomach. But if you think Eala just rolled over and cried about it, you clearly don't know who she is. She took that heartbreak, packed it up, and marched right back to that very academy in Mallorca for a final showdown. This brings us to the confrontation that will go down in tennis lore. Alex demanded a meeting. We are talking 90 minutes behind closed doors. No PR managers, no cameras, no witnesses, just the betrayed and the betrayer. But in a place like that, walls talk, and the leaks that have trickled out of that room over the past few days are absolutely chilling. According to insiders, Alex didn't walk in there screaming. She didn't throw a tantrum. Instead, she sat across from the man who molded her and asked him one simple, devastating, soul-crushing question. She looked him in the eye and said, "If you could reverse this right now, knowing exactly what it cost me, would you?" And Rafa hesitated. In the hyper-competitive, split-second world of elite sports, hesitation is a death sentence. A hesitation is a no. It's an admission of guilt. That fraction of a second of silence told Alex everything she ever needed to know about where she truly stood. In that agonizing pause, she realized the hardest truth anyone can face. She was never as important to him as he was to her. She was a passion project. He was her entire foundation. Realizing the disparity in their loyalty, she didn't beg. She stood up, walked out of that room, and immediately posted a quote that has since set the entire internet on fire. "Some people teach you about greatness. Others teach you about betrayal. Both lessons matter." Boom. Mic drop. Chills. Literally everywhere. That is not just a tweet. That is a declaration of independence. But guys, to truly grasp the magnitude of this betrayal, we have to zoom out, because this story is so much bigger than just a girl and her tennis coach. For the Philippines, Alex Eala is not just an athlete. She is a living, breathing symbol of national transcendence. This is a country that relies on the blood, sweat, and tears of over 11 million overseas Filipino workers. These are everyday heroes who leave their families behind, sacrificing their own comfort to build towering skyscrapers in Dubai, to staff the emergency rooms in Abu Dhabi, to nanny children in foreign countries, all to send money back home. They know what it means to grind in the shadows for a better future. So when Alex steps onto a global stage and wins, the entire nation feels like they are winning with her. She carries the hopes, the dreams, and the heavy, invisible weight of millions of people who see their own struggle reflected in her baseline rallies. So when the news broke that Alex was suddenly entirely on her own, a free agent without the shield of the Nadal empire, the sharks started circling. And the biggest, wealthiest shark in the water was the United Arab Emirates. Rumors began swirling uncontrollably that Dubai was offering her a fast-track citizenship and a sponsorship package that makes your eyes water just looking at the zeros. The backlash back home was instantaneous and, frankly, insane. People felt personally betrayed, as if she was turning her back on the very flag she was meant to elevate. But let's pump the brakes and inject some harsh reality into this emotional debate. On February 25, 2026, Alex didn't hide behind a PR statement. She flew to Dubai, stood at a podium inside the Burj Khalifa, wearing a sharp white pantsuit, looking like the absolute boss she is, and she delivered the unvarnished truth. She clarified that no, she has not changed her citizenship. She is still Filipina, but she looked right into the cameras and flat out refused to apologize for entertaining the offer or securing her financial future. And honestly, I am giving her a standing ovation for that. Let's look at the math, people. In 7 grueling years on the professional circuit, battling injuries, travel costs, and immense pressure, she has earned roughly $400,000 in prize money. Do you know what the Dubai Consortium offered her? 17,500 times that amount. Let me repeat that. 17,500 times her career earnings. At that press conference, she forced the media, the fans, and her own country to confront a very uncomfortable truth. She forced everyone to acknowledge the staggering, invisible weight she has been carrying for a nation that loves her the loudest when she is holding a trophy, but might not be there to pay for her knee surgeries or her retirement when the spotlight fades. She pointed out the sheer hypocrisy of a world that expects unyielding, financially ruinous loyalty from a 20-year-old girl, while her billionaire mentor is applauded for dropping her like a bad habit the second a $3 billion check was waved in his face. Why is Rafa a savvy businessman for choosing a corporate institution over his protege, but Alex is a traitor for wanting to ensure she never has to rely on anyone else again? It is a blatant double standard, and she called it out brilliantly. Here is my ultimate, unfiltered take on this entire mess. Honestly, guys, this is a massive wake-up call, not just for Alex, but for anyone watching. this girl is only 20 years old. She has faced more psychological pressure, public scrutiny, and deep-seated betrayal in the span of one single week than most of us will ever encounter in our entire lives. She had to learn the absolute hardest, most bitter lesson in the book at an incredibly young age. The people who scream the loudest about believing in you do not always love you the most deeply. Sometimes, the terrifying price of being someone's heartwarming success story is that you become the very first pawn they are willing to sacrifice off the chessboard when a bigger, more lucrative game begins. Rafa Nadal taught her how to hit a world-class forehand, but his departure taught her how to survive in a world that only values you when you are profitable. But if you are looking for a silver lining in this dark cloud of sports politics, look no further than Eala herself. Because she hasn't quit. She hasn't faded away into obscurity. She is still out there, stepping onto the court, and she is still fighting like a warrior for every single point.